Lando Norris leads FP1 at Hungaroring, with Brazil on track twice. Felipe Drugovich replaced Fernando Alonso, who suffered a back muscle injury. Lando Norris tops FP2 and Max Verstappen throws in the towel, literally, in this case. But it's not what you're thinking. Lewis Hamilton talks about what 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧𝙞𝙤𝙧 described as a tough start at Ferrari. The Splash N Go T-shirt campaign kicks off. There will be 500 if we manage to hit the goal. I'll explain it to you in a second. Friday, August 1st, 2025, we've already had cars on track, McLaren performing really well. So, before you kick off your Friday, sit down so we can talk about everything. Let's go! Lewis Hamilton spoke quite openly and candidly with Sky Sports about his entire season so far and expressed that he genuinely needs a significant break now during the period known as the so-called summer break. Break time equals 0.5s/, a crucial 3 weeks without any Formula 1 racing, to fully recharge his batteries and spend some much-needed quality time with his beloved family, because he explicitly stated, this demanding first half of the current year has been incredibly tough work in Maranello. Hamilton, despite a win in the sprint race in China, has been having a season start well below that of his teammate Charles Leclerc, who has already made it to the podium in Grand Prix with Ferrari 5 times out of 13 attempts. Now we're heading into the 14th race of the year. In an interview with Sky, he said that he thinks about this dry spell every single day and mentioned that this year has been the most intense in decades for him, with a lot of work to adapt to a new team and a new culture, admitting that he'll need to get away and recharge his batteries during this summer break. And he said, this has definitely been the most intense, I would say, just from a professional standpoint. Integrating into a new culture, a new team, hasn't gone smoothly in every area and it's been a real battle. So yes, I definitely need to get away and recharge, be close to the kids, laugh, and relax. But he wrapped up by saying, I'm always excited to race. I love what I do. I love wearing red. I love working with this team and I have a lot of faith in them. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at Ferrari. There always is. Fred Vasseur was confirmed yesterday, staying on as team principal at a crossroads where I think Ferrari, in fact, avoided taking the wrong path. Vasseur is the right guy for the job, and by keeping him and keeping the drivers, stability is what a Formula 1 team needs. The diagnosis, the analogy, is very simple. You don't make a sharp turn with an ocean liner. Just to give you an idea, the updates that came to the car last week, the gearbox casing and so on, which I mentioned, and the floor that was put on the car at the Red Bull Ring are the first parts designed directly by Loic Serra, who came from Mercedes and was announced in the summer, around this time of year in 2023. He took over in the summer of 2024, because there was that so-called quarantine period, the so-called gardening leave, and when he joined Ferrari, around this time last year, the car was already well advanced. So, the first update with his signature, with the guy's direct touch, is this one. You can see how long it takes to change things in a Formula 1 team, and making the Italian press, especially, understand this kind of thing is very complicated. On Tuesday, by the way, there will be a video about the silent revolution that's happening in Maranello. It's an issue he detected in the car after just 3 corners, and it wasn't even in this year's car. Stay tuned. Lando Norris led the first free practice session at the Hungaroring, followed by his championship rival and teammate, Oscar Piastri, with Leclerc in third. In the hours leading up to the cars hitting the track for the first free practice session, kicking off the action this Friday, Aston Martin announced that Fernando Alonso would be away from the car, at least for the first part, due to back pain. Taking his place was the reserve driver, the Brazilian and 2023 Formula 2 champion, Felipe Drugovich. Drugovich, however, wasn't the only non-regular driver to get behind the wheel. Paul Aron, Sauber's reserve driver, took Nico Hülkenberg's seat for the first part and was unlucky. Sauber, with the rookie who races under the Estonian flag, lit up a bunch of critical warning lights on the dashboard and pulled over at turn 13, which might also explain why Gabriel Bortoletto's other car spent quite a while in the garage at the end of the session, with the crew inspecting his car as well. Record holder for wins at Hungaroring, Lewis Hamilton was the first to hit the track, leading the pack with 8 cars starting on hard tyres and the rest on mediums. Another one who had problems was Pierre Gasly, reporting over the radio that his Alpine had no power, and he was also called back so the crew could take a look at the car. Norris, at the start, set the benchmark with the fastest lap, followed by Leclerc, and in third was Oscar Piastri, who won his first race there a year ago. Norris's lap, a 1 minute and 17.631 seconds, was a full second faster than Hamilton's, who was in 8th place at that moment, prompting him to ask over the radio, "Is there something wrong with my car?" With the other Ferrari, Leclerc took Norris off the top spot, but Norris quickly responded, both of them now posting times in the 1:16 range, a 1 minute and 16.837 seconds, to be more specific. They moved on to the final stages and, as usual, shifted focus to the soft tires, running simulated qualifying laps to gather data and understand how the cars behave with an empty tank over 1 or 2 flying laps. Norris went out there and clocked a 1 minute and 16.052 seconds, 7/10 faster than Leclerc's previous time, with Piastri putting his McLaren in second place. He was actually quicker in the first sector, but overall, he ended up 0.142 seconds behind. On another attempt, Piastri managed to do better, but it still wasn't enough. He was just 0.019 seconds off the top, remaining in second place. So, we had Norris in first, Piastri in second, Leclerc in third, 𝘾𝙤𝙢𝙤 in fourth, and Lewis Hamilton in fifth. Oliver Behrmann was sixth, and the Mercedes duo, who reverted to the previous suspension specification from before the Miami Grand Prix, trying to figure out where, let's say, the silver cow went off the rails. Kimi Antonelli and George Russell took 7th and 8th places, followed by Max Verstappen in 9th, who was complaining a lot about the car, and Lance Stroll from Aston Martin rounding out the top 10. Alexander Albon was 11th, Esteban Ocon 12th, Pierre Gasly 13th, Liam Lawson with the other Racing Bulls 14th, and Carlos Sainz from Williams 15th. Felipe Drugovich from Aston Martin, substituting for Alonso, was 16th. He completed 26 laps, carrying out a very demanding program according to the team, with lots of laps and many changes to the car, followed by Yuki Tsunoda, Franco Colapinto, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Paul Aron. The two Zaubers were the cars that ran the least. Bortoleto did 17 laps, Aron did 9. In the second session, things looked pretty similar, at least in the top 3. Lando Norris in first, Oscar Piastri in second, and yes, Leclerc in third. And Max Verstappen was called up to the steward's office to explain himself for throwing in the towel. What? That's right, partly cloudy skies, but it's really hot at Hungaroring, and everyone hit the track in a session that lines up with the time closest to tomorrow's qualifying. QL2 happened at noon. Qualifying is tomorrow, 1 hour earlier, at 11. And back in the car was Fernando Alonso, who sat out the first part, giving his spot to Drugovich. He was complaining about muscle pain in his back. It didn't take long for something to happen, and Nico Hülkenberg, who also sat out the first part, giving his car to Paul Aron, put a wheel off at turn 12 and brought a lot of gravel onto the track. Then Haas, with Esteban Ocon, and Alpine, with Franco Colapinto, called their drivers back in to check for any damage after they went through and picked up the gravel. Other interesting moments included Oscar Piastri getting a bit sideways at turn 4, and George Russell and Oliver Behrmann getting really close for a free practice session. If it were during the race, it would have looked like a battle for position, and this happened at turn 9. But Friday isn't the time for that. When everyone had already completed their first timed attempt, Lando Norris was at the top of the timesheets, a 1 minute and 16.525 seconds, 0.172 ahead of the other McLaren of Oscar Piastri and almost half a second faster than Leclerc. Meanwhile, at Red Bull, it was what they call a day of misery, and Tsunoda was saying that the car's balance was everywhere except where it needed to be, and Max Verstappen saying, problems at the front, problems at the back, adding, it's like driving on ice. As we reached the second half of the session, and as usual, the team started switching from hard and medium tires to softs, so it was time for the lap times to drop with qualifying simulations. McLaren, with Norris, stayed on top with a 1 minute and 15.624 seconds, followed by Oscar Piastri with a 1 minute and 15.951 seconds. Aston Martin then showed up with some very good laps, with Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso in 4th and 5th place. Both were behind Leclerc, who was 3rd, and ahead of the other Ferrari, with Hamilton in 6th. Russell was the fastest of the Mercedes drivers in 7th place, followed by Racing Bull's 𝘾𝙤𝙢𝙤, with Yuki Tsunoda in 9th and Kimi Antonelli in 10th position. Oliver Behrmann was 11th, Nico Hülkenberg 12th, Esteban Ocon 13th, Max Verstappen 14th, Liam Lawson 15th, Carlos Sainz 16th, Gabriel Bortoleto 17th, Alexander Albon 18th, Pierre Gasly 19th, and Franco Colapinto, also from Alpine like Gasly, in 20th. Tomorrow, at 7:30 in the morning, there will already be cars on the track with the third free practice session, and at 11 comes qualifying. As soon as qualifying is over, I'll post a short here with the results for you, and then I'll keep working on a slightly longer video, which should be out around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. That one will go into more detail about qualifying, and then on Sunday, at 10 in the morning, it's lights out for the Hungarian Grand Prix. But at 9:45, we'll go live with our parallel broadcast project as a second screen on another channel. You can watch it on Band, Bandplay, or F1 TV, and listen along with us here. Mateusz Forlan does the commentary, and I, Rodrigo Lamonato, will be on analysis. And straight from the front lines, bringing insights, Julian Cerasoli. This week, on Tuesday, we have a video about the most impressive opening laps in Formula 1 history. And of course, there's a Brazilian in the mix. Two, actually. On Wednesday, a short but great story about when Niki Lauda shot his mouth off and it backfired. He said any monkey could drive today's Formula 1 cars. And then, when he actually sat in a modern car, he spun out and had to eat his own words. On Sunday, there's a live stream at 6 p.m. after the race, so we can talk about everything. I'll meet you here to answer your questions, your super chats, talk about the news, everything that happened on and off the track, and to raffle off the Formula Collection miniatures, our partner. I'll leave the link to Formula Collection's Instagram here in the description, and here's their QR code. Go check it out over there. They've been our partners here for a while now. And before you head out for the weekend, you know my usual request. Leave a like, it's free, doesn't cost a thing, look at that. And it really helps the channel a lot. Do me this favor, do us this favor. Don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to leave your hype, too. Ah, Rodrigo, but what should I comment? Whatever you want, tell us where you're watching from. Send a shout out to your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, partner, your cat, or even my cat who's here watching. The important thing is to comment anything at all. The algorithm sees it as engagement and keeps spreading our content all over the internet. It can even be just a little emoji. No problem at all. To make sure you don't miss anything we do here, if you're not following yet, we have our notification groups on Instagram, Telegram, and WhatsApp, each with over 2,000 members, getting notified automatically about everything we do here, so you won't miss a thing. And finally, our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok, where there's content all the time. The handles and links are showing up here, and you already know, they're also down below in the description. This Friday marks the last Formula 1 weekend before the August break. There will be 3 weekends without races, during which we'll have a special program, Teams We Love, Red Bull Racing, in 3 episodes. But until then, there's still a long way to go, so thanks a lot, big hug, happy Friday, and Louise.